Hello, everyone. My name is Gregory Q. Jenkins, and I'm the founder and CEO of Quintasia Studios. And this is the Quintasia Podcast. Now, a word about today's guest. You've heard me talk about Stage 32 on the podcast before, and, the significance it has been to myself in kind of helping us launch and getting as far as we've gotten. I give them a lot of credit. You've heard me talk to it. Well, I belong to the writer's room at Stage 32. And we have the privilege today of having with us two individuals who lead that writer's room. You are in for a treat today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Brooklynn Fields and John Mezes. John, did I say your name correctly? Your last name?
You did, and on the first shot. How about that?
All right. I'm unfortunately terrible with pronouncing people's names, so I wanted to make sure that I got your name correctly. So welcome to the podcast, Brooklynn and John. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit and talk with our audience today. So let's dive right in. The first question, and I guess I'll throw this out, ladies first. I'll throw this out to you, Brooklynn. When did you know you wanted to be a writer?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having us, Gregory. Pleasure to be here. And just a quick note, we don't run the writer's room, just the practice pitch tank of the Stage 32 writer's room. Yes, I'd love to take that credit, but I just had to say we don't run the Stage 32 writer's room, but we do host every Thursday for years now, the practice pitch tank. But yes, I knew I wanted to become a writer, back to your question. Honestly, 4 years ago. It was literally just 4 years ago when I was going through my own healing journey, which we all need to go through that kind of journey, just to find out what we want to do. I was climbing corporate ladder and nothing was satisfying. And I kept going like, okay, God, what's next? What's next? And I started writing a book about my life of just how I got to this point. Like, how did I get to this rock bottom of my life? How did I get into this mess that I was in back in 2016? And through 2 years of me writing my book, that's when this epiphany happened that, like, I love character. I'm the one who escapes to the movies by myself. I get lost in series on television. So I just knew the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019, I just had this vision that I was going to be in the entertainment industry and that writing my own stories was going to be my path there. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
All right, thank you. And John, how about you? When did you know that you wanted to be a writer?
Well, let me first echo the sentiment of thanking you for having both of us on your podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I wanted to write since I was about 11 or 12. And since I'm in my 50s, I kind of figured that out a long time ago. But yeah, I used to write short stories. I used to write short stories about Ronald Reagan and Superman having lunch together. I used to write short stories about the things that would go on in my neighborhood. I wrote about my experiences at a young age, and yeah, I've always wanted to put pen to paper and write. I've always enjoyed that creative process. So very long time.
And I share that with you. I guess it wasn't until recently, probably around the same time frame, like I would say 2018, 2019, when I seriously thought I wanted to do this for a living. But I too, like you, have been writing stuff since I was about 12. And I am also in my 50s. So you are
Yeah,
my
there we go.
you're my hero.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
You're an example to show that, hey, it really doesn't matter, what age you are. If you have the passion and the dedication, and that's something that you want to do, good things can still happen to you. And we'll talk more about that a little later. Now, what for those of you out there who have, and by the way, for those of you who didn't join at the top of the podcast, you're listening to the Quintasia podcast, and we're talking. Our guests are from the pitch tank practice, which that's what we're about to talk about now. Now, for those of you out there who are aspiring to be writers, and you probably feel the same way that I felt. You feel comfortable writing your stories. You feel comfortable exploring the world, building your characters. But if you ever want that thing to go somewhere, you're going to have to be able to pitch it at some point. I know that's probably out there like, I hate it. I know what you're thinking. But I'm sorry, there's no way around it. You are the best salesperson for your story, and that is a skill that I think that every serious writer must develop. And at the Pitch Tank practice, that's what it is. It's a community of writers. We all have the same goals, and we're learning how to pitch. And our guests today are the people who lead these sessions. And I have to tell you, the feedback, the notes that you get, they're invaluable. It's supportive. It's really something that you need to get into. You need to find your community where, whether it's Stage 32 or however, or if you belong somewhere else, you need that community so that you can work on that skill in a safe environment. So let me ask you, John, how did you learn pitching?
Well, when I say I'm a late bloomer, I'm not kidding. Because even when I was younger and I wrote short stories, I actually took a 27-year hiatus from writing, and I was living my life doing the things I needed to do. And when I returned to it, I started to learn about pitching from reading a lot of source material on it, and very small segments beginning pitching with certain things I wrote. And then I joined Stage 32 in 2020, I believe, yeah, 2020. And I found my way to the pitch tank through the writer's room. And I was an attendee, as Brooklyn can attest to. And I was pitching. I was doing different things. I was pitching. I was learning. I was educating myself. I was listening to other people pitch, which was invaluable, as I was doing it myself. And I was always improving and trying to evolve the skill of pitching as I was doing that. And I was also, talking to other screenwriters who had pitched before, and I had gotten their feedback and their knowledge. We did like trial runs and things like that between us. So there was a lot of practice that went into it, and there was a lot of time that I devoted to it. But the pitch tank was invaluable because it created a safe community and a supportive community that allowed me to grow in that skill and allowed me to, like I said before, evolve in it and become better at it. But it was also a community that gave me honest feedback, which is what you need as a writer. To surround yourself with yes people that tell you everything you do is fantastic, because really not going to help you at all. Because if you want that, go pitch to your mom or your brother or your sister, and they'll tell you everything you do is wonderful. But you want the honest feedback, and you want it to be supportive, and that bridge is gapped in the pitch tank. So that's basically how I learned to pitch and become better and better at it. But it took a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of work. And Brooklyn was fantastic. There were prior hosts to myself before I became one, but She was fantastic in giving me that honest feedback and the ability to nurture the process. So that's how I learned it, and I'm forever grateful to this young lady.
Definitely. So, Miss Brooklyn, tell us how you learned pitching.
Ooh, all my monies went to investing into learning the whole game of writing, right? Like, because like I said, back in end of 2018, 2019, when I had this vision of this is what it is, God, for real. You see where I'm at and you see what I don't have. So I invested. I stopped, I invested in the best of the best. Jen Grisanti, Stage 32. I went on a scholarship to France. I like when I learned I wrote a 10-page of my first script. They loved the idea. So I got a scholarship to go to France where I met RB, the CEO of Stage 32, and a mentor of mine now. I love to call him a friend. And Jen Grisanti, a mentor of mine that I love to call a friend. I invested a lot over the years, or through that even summer, of working one-on-one with the best storyteller in the industry. So just her outline of what a pitch takes with my kind of spin on presenting yourself, right? Like I said, my background is in business. I don't know if I said that, but my background is in business and sports. So even with my anxieties, like I'm used to putting myself out there. Like I'm used to pressure. I'm used to that. So I knew that this was my gift. Like I have the gift of gab, as you all know. I can talk about a lot of things. So that's just kind of learning that structure and outline and using my personality to help people get comfortable, right? Like writers are overall writers are very introverted, in my opinion, in this industry. And understanding that about that, bringing this gift that I have, I knew that pitching would be my way into learning more. If I could really get good, right? Because I was still building my writing skill, right? Like you guys were writing for years. I've been writing for 3 years, and I knew that honing in on like storytelling and being really good at letting people know how that was going to advance every other skill in my writing package. So I just really doubled down on the pitching game and the pitching skill, because I knew that was going to be my thing, to contribute to other writers and contribute to the community, was the pitching game, because it's hard. Anxiety, like pitching's not easy. Even
Mhm.
somebody who loves pressure and loves it's vulnerability. It's putting your work on the line. It's like putting you out there in a way that you have to be concise and you have to feel perfect. So there's a lot of pressure in that. So um helping people relax through that process, I knew like I need to learn this. I really need to learn this gift. So that's how it came about.
Well, I'm going to share a little story with our audience, and I hope you don't mind if I make this not a story, an observation. For those writers, and I would say there's probably a fair percentage of writers that, the idea of pitching their project, just makes them a nervous wreck. And I want you all listening and watching this podcast to know that Brooklyn practices what she preaches, because she also pitches her ideas as well. And it's always a treat for us to get to see that. And I can tell you, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, you can see how nervous and it's a challenge. But what's an inspiration is you can see her marshal those nerves, control it, and then press through. And that's an inspiration to all of us in the pitch tank, because you can do this. It takes work, it takes practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you can do it. But I would probably say, other than actually writing the script, this is the most important skill you as a writer need to possess. Because if you ever want your work to go anywhere, you're going to have to learn how to pitch it. And being able to pitching, what I have learned, also makes your story better, because it forces you to focus on, the concise story points. And if you Like for instance, so I'm writing a television pilot, pilot goal. Like, oh yeah, yeah. What is the pilot goal? Things like that. It forces you, if you don't have those things, like when you get notes. So like, what's the pilot goal? And then all of a sudden you realize, I don't know what the pilot goal is. I haven't thought about the pilot goal, but that makes you come up with a better story. So I would definitely highly recommend, find a writer's room, be in a community of, writers, preferably, my opinion, all different kind of stages, so that you benefit from people who are more experienced, less experienced, but get that get that variety in there. And that's what I love about the pitch tank practice is, you have a variety of experience level within there. And of course, it's led by these two wonderful individuals who give us hope and some valuable notes. Um, so let me throw this out there, and I will, whoever would like to go first on this one, be my guest. What advice would you give to anyone who's chasing their dream?
Ladies first, my dear.
I listen, you already know I'm gonna wait. You already know I'm gonna wait. Honestly, it sounds so cliche, but it is a mindset, right? And for me, like this might like I feel like discipline. That's the word. Just discipline. Even outside of your craft, if you're going after something that is outside of the norm, outside of what your family, your friends, and you're really going for something that nobody around you, right? Most of us who are chasing our dreams, nobody around us in our immediate circle, when you have that idea of doing something, sees the same thing you see, right? Everyone else sees the world the way they see the world. And once you step outside of a new reality that you want for yourself, than what's around you, you have to understand, number one, you are not yet the person who's ready to attain all of these things. You might see it, but there's a level of discipline of showing up for yourself to actually become the person to receive the things that you want. And through that discipline of whether it's writing every day, I can't write every day, but there's disciplines, right? Showing up for yourself, doing certain things that you know are going to improve yourself, to better yourself, is how you go about chasing your dreams. And then number two, which I feel like discipline is the number one thing. And number two is you have to be aware of your level of attachments to family, friends, things around you, because if you are not aware, you will start bending that flame back down into the other realities if nobody else sees the visions you see for yourself. If nobody else sees this thing for you and you see it and then other people don't see it, it is more likely than not, if you don't create those disciplines for yourself to keep bettering your mindset and keep bettering your goals and visions, that you will stop because the people around you aren't on that wavelength too. So you might start thinking you're crazy. You might start thinking like, okay, maybe I can't do this because of everyone else's way of how they see you. Allow yourself to be able to evolve. And you can really only do those things through acts of discipline for yourself, how you show up for yourself, how you talk to yourself, words of encouragement to yourself, keeping yourself accountable through those acts of discipline. And then don't care it sounds simple, don't care what people think about you, but it is hard, right? When your friends, your family, and everyone else that you really want to go on this ride with you, but it's the reality of you'll make more money with strangers than your closest friends and family, right? It's the same going towards your dreams. It's not everyone's going to see your vision. And you really have to show up for yourself, guys. As the chasing, I'm not going to say it's rainbows and butterflies, but you're at peace. And I think John might attest to that too, but it's hard work to chase things. I don't even want to say chase, right? Becoming the thing, right? It's hard work to go after your dreams. But if you discipline yourself, you show up for yourself, and you talk to yourself in a loving and encouraging yet accountable way, you will see the progress unfold. And that's what you have to latch onto, is that progress, not the dream. That's far-fetched, right? It's way over here and it's out of my, it's too far away to get, but it's in that progress that all of a sudden you look up through the progress. Holy crap, sorry. Woo, holy crap. I'm closer to there than I was there. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. And that's the point where everything clicks. It's like, I'm all this discipline, and you look up and it's like, boom, my dreams are closer than that person. So I'm this way. So, but to sum it up, discipline and be aware of the surroundings around you, because not everyone is going to see what you see, and you have to be okay with that. You have to. That's like one of the hardest lessons I learned was detachment from things and people around you who don't see. God gave you your vision, not everybody else. That's why they don't give it. That's why they don't see it. But yeah.
Well said. Well said. John, you have anything that you want to add to that?
I do, and you saw the originality of my dear Brooklynn here. She gives you that passion every time she talks to you. So there you go. But yeah, I would say that there's definitely echoing the sentiment of the determination, because just speaking as a screenwriter only, as to what I am and what I would like to do, this isn't a preconceived success story. There's no guarantee that you're going to be successful in what you're doing, but it's the determination and it's the patience and the perseverance you put in that can help you get there. And it's the seriousness of what you want to be. I knew for a very long time that I wanted to be a screenwriter, and I put the time and the energy and the education into learning how to do it. That's an important part, because you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to say, even though there's no guarantee, it's attainable, but you have to work, you have to try, you have to commit, you have to do these things. No one is going to hand it to you. No one is going to just take, you're not going to be able to walk into place A and hand your script to someone and say, oh, here's my script, now just make me successful. That doesn't happen ever. Unless you have connections or you're incredibly rich, but I am neither of those, so there you go. But what you put into it is what you can attain, and you will, by building a network and by building a community around you that is supportive and helpful and honest, you can make your journey quicker, you can make your journey less bumpy, and you can also make the journey more pleasant, more fun to do, because you've surrounded yourself with people who want to attain the same thing, and they say to themselves, well, I'm going to help you and you can help me, and it's the give and take that you give and you receive that makes that journey more fun, that makes that journey, when you wake up every day and you say, I'm going to do 10 pages today, or I'm going to do 5 pages today, or I'm going to brainstorm, or I'm going to outline, or I'm going to format, whatever level you're at in your writing, that's what makes it fun. That's what builds the passion. That's what builds the commitment, because you're enjoying what you're doing. If it was a task or was arduous, nobody would want to do it. And I think those elements, the determination, the patience, the perseverance, and building a supportive community around you on this journey that everybody's on, to do that is key, because it makes you feel comfortable doing it. You have to like it, you have to love it, you have to want to have a passion for it to succeed. I would say if you go into something half-hearted, or I can take it or leave it, whatever, you're not really going to be successful, because the need isn't there. The thing that drives you isn't there. And echoing something, about what Brooklyn said about surrounding yourself with people, I'll present this to you. Who would you rather talk about your work with? Someone who says, oh, that's cool, good luck. Or someone who says, oh man, that sounds so cool. Hey, tell me about that guy in the script you wrote. What does he do? What does he do next? What is it about? Like, oh, this is cool. Where do you want to write about? Like, where do you want to make it happen? Where's the location? Who are the people? Who would you rather talk to that about? It's pretty simple, right?
Yes, definitely.
So
Um,
that's my answer to it, because I think it comes down to how bad you want it, what steps you want to take to educate yourself and get there, and who you surround yourself with. And if you can attain those things, the goal is doable.
I totally agree. And I would just add to what both of you said. The other thing that I think is invaluable is you cannot have a fear of failure. Um, a lot of times there will be, as Brooklyn started to talk to in her answer, people don't see the vision. They don't see what you're going to, and they don't realize that you're on a journey and that, you know, you're not, as Brooklyn said, at the level that you need to be to achieve your dreams yet. And they're going to react to just that, and they're going to tell you, oh, don't even try it. It's very hard. It's very, of course, trying to be a professional writer is very competitive. Um, but it doesn't you cannot approach it with a fear of failure. You have to take failure as, okay, this is now, quote unquote, the universe pointing out there is something more I need to learn. This is something I can get, but you can take that as an opportunity to get better at something, and that failure is not a bad thing. Um, and I think that's a trait that all successful people have, is how they look at failure. They don't look at it as the end. They look at it as, okay, this is my challenge now. I need to get better at something so the next time around I will be successful. And that's the way you have to look at it. And you have to be persistent. And that's when, the themes of persistence and discipline, they're all wrapped in there. It's a long journey, but and ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see when we start talking about, there's a payoff, but you have to stick with it. One thing is for sure: if you quit, you're never going to achieve what you wanted to achieve. You have to stick with it, and you have to be disciplined about it. I think you know all of what was said here is so important, and I hope that someone listening out there, maybe you'll take some inspiration from this and take action. Make your dreams happen. As I've gotten older, what I have realized, that it's not magic. you know um, we started on this journey. We made this little web video. I hadn't had a thought of actually making a real television show. It was just something I wanted to do. But then I realized that it was attainable. And we've been on so far a 3+ year journey, but every step of the way, I'm learning well. And I've had a chance to interact with actual people in the business, development executives and things, all through stage 32, who says, I think you got something here. And, that's what keeps me going. And I intend to keep going, just like our guest today, until, and we're going to talk about what they're into in a few minutes. But whatever you do out there, be persistent and keep going for your goals. And that's why I wanted them here today. Uh, I wanted them both to know that I appreciate, the pitch tank so much. You have no idea. And I appreciate the time that you both put into it, because it is a sacrifice. But I know it's something you love to do. And that's what I guess, you know, maybe it doesn't feel like a sacrifice sometimes, but I know that it is. So thank you both for being helpful to me and all the rest of the writers group that you have an impact on. And you see what I did there? That's a nice segue into my next question. um,
Well
what
done,
kind
Gregory.
what kind of impact do you want your life to have when you look back on it? Um, I'll just give a quick preface. I've done things in life sometimes that I didn't realize impacted people. And then I see them years later, and I find out real quick story so you'll understand the context of this question. I used to be a music producer in one of my many past lives, and I had a little independent record label. I was like Carlos Santana. I can't sing worth a lick, but I would write songs and then get singers to go out and perform the song. So I was looking for someone. I wrote like a blues kind of song, and I was looking for someone. And this woman, she sent in a tape. Well, she saw it. She was interested. She was a rock singer. She never sung blues before. And long story short, she had to go through all kinds of leaps to get to me because it wasn't easy to submit. It didn't work for her. So she had to find another way to get in touch with me, and she did. And she was phenomenal. And I recorded the song with her. She's now in a blues band. That's what she sings full time now. So I think about, that one interaction, and it changed the trajectory in someone's life. So what kind of impact, I'll start with you, John. What kind of impact do you want to have in people's life?
Specifically talking about the arts and the industry and screenwriting, and pitching too. I just, my goal basically is, I'm a giver by nature. I'm a very giving person. I like to share things, knowledge, education, experiences, with other people in the hopes that they can achieve success as well as me. I think the whole is much more greater than the single, when it comes to that. And I guess the mark I'd like to leave is that, and it's actually happening right now. So I guess you could say I'm attaining what I want right now. Is to be able for people to say, here's someone who helped me. Here's someone who was there for me. Here's someone who listened to me. Here's someone who tried to guide me and help me and get me on my journey and be there for me. Yeah, I mean, I have my own goals and my own expectations too. But as far as my mark on the world is just someone who was supportive, someone who helped other people, someone who, when they talk about me, they got a big old smile on their face. That's it. That's what I want. It's pretty simple.
I can relate to that, definitely. How about you, Brooklyn?
Healing. I want my impact on this world for people to, I just like, same, you know what I'm saying? Like I am a natural nurturer at heart, but through this healing process, understanding my worth, right? And only healing allows people to understand the true power that they have within themselves, being able to sit with self, being able to understand yourself, being able to not deplete yourself into everybody else's stuff while still, like, right, John, you probably could attest to this too, about the balance of, yes, you're a giver, but there's a focus on who you are. There's a focus on what your projects are. There's a focus on who you need to become. And so often us natural nurturers deplete ourselves, and everyone else is trying to prove our worthiness or validate ourselves by giving, because that was me. And through my healing journey of my own self, understanding my worth. So me on this journey is, yes, writing in the entertainment industry is a vessel for me, but my purpose is to help people heal. My purpose in this world is to let people see themselves authentically, to be able to give themselves grace and then hold themselves accountable to the life that they want. And I feel like that overall is the impact that I want on the world, is that you can be your authentic self. You can have depressions, anxieties, body dysmorphias, like you could be crazy basically, because your girl's crazy. I've been telling y'all, but you could deal with all of these things and still know your power and still know your worth when you are able to understand yourself. And I feel like that's a big thing that this world needs, is really a level of healing, a level of healing to just understand that you don't have to look through the world through just your trauma-filled eyes. Like, everyone's been through trauma, everyone's been through their own things. And once we heal through that, you can see yourself as you are, and you can see the world as it is. When you unpack all of the childhood traumas and everything else that you've been through. So yeah, healing. I'm a big healing advocate, because that's the only reason I'm on this journey, is through my own I want my life journey to be shown. Oh my God, she's been doing this for some time now, and look where she's at. Like that's the kind of blueprint I want to leave, because I don't feel like somebody like me had the blueprint of this journey. So I'm creating my own blueprint for people to see.
Well, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I think that our guests today, their stories are inspirational. You are listening to the Quintasia podcast, and we are talking today with Brooklyn Fields and John Mezes. It's a great conversation. Let me ask you this, Brooklyn. So what's the biggest mistake that you see writers do with their pitches?
Just one? No, I'm kidding.
As many as you like.
Okay, so not pitching. Number one is not pitching. That's the biggest mistake, is writers too afraid to pitch, right? Because of their anxieties, their insecurities of putting themselves out there. That's the biggest mistake. And then number two is not having a finished script before they pitch. Because when you don't have a finished script before you pitch, you kind of don't know where your story's going, right? And you can tell within the pitch that it's like, okay, where are we headed? We don't know the character journey of where it's going. So that would be the second biggest mistake. And then I think the third one is just being open to receiving the criticism of your pitch. Because I know that sometimes we can get defensive on our babies, right? We're very vulnerable when it comes to, oh, they must not have gotten it. Like they don't get the story, right? I do that too, right? I give myself a 24-hour with any feedback through my pitch, any feedback through writing. I let them give me the feedback, and I have my 24-hour, they don't get it. Like I give myself a day to just be like, be in my ego, right? I give myself a day to be in my ego. And then the next day I go back with, okay, I got all of that, because it's natural, guys. Like you can't not, it's natural to express your emotions, but sometimes we want to express it right in that moment of no. It's like, listen, take the note and sit on it and listen, right? Sit on the note for a little bit and then approach the note later once the ego has flown through you, so that you're able to, whether you like the criticism or didn't like the criticism, once you're out of your ego, now you can process the criticism in a way of like, okay, I'll take that note. They might have not got this, but it sparks something else. But if you're too in your defense mode, you'll never allow yourself to sit in the criticism, to take what you need out of it and leave the rest. So yeah, I think those are the three things that are the biggest mistake for writers who are trying to pitch.
John, how about you?
Well, I'll echo the first one completely. Not even trying. It's a necessity. I mean, on a level, on some level, we're all a bit of a salesperson because we're selling ourselves and we're selling our project. So you have to be able to do that. Now, all is not lost for those who have stage fright and can't talk and very introverted, because you can do a written pitch too. So it's not, all is not lost, but not doing it at all, that's the biggest mistake, because you have to. There's a part of it that's crucial to the process, and you have to do that. So that would be number one. I think number two is also in the wheelhouse that Brooklyn was just doing there, was criticism. Because many people think when they hear the word criticism, it's like, oh, this is going to be bad. They're going to tear it apart. They're going to say it sucked. It's horrible. Oh, I can't deal with this. I want to go home and put my head under my pillow. I can't deal with it. It's it's not. And I'm going to say why. Because if you pitch to an executive and they're listening to you, you've already established a connection, and there's already an opportunity. So you learn from the opportunity. Everybody has an ego, and everybody is going to say, well, how far am I going to let my ego, is it either going to get in the way, or am I going to move it aside and take the note for exactly what it is? That's up to you. But I emphasize everybody to try to understand the feedback and the notes you're getting, and then think about it, and apply it to your writing if you can. Because some executives, believe it or not, and I speak from experience, will get into a little detail and they'll tell you, they'll take the time to talk to you and they'll say, hey, this could use a little tune up, maybe lose this, put this in. I love this. This is great. We could lose this. This is why. And they give and they take and they talk to you because they really deep down, they would love for you to succeed. They would love to have original content come to the table. It benefits them as much as it benefits you. So they would love to do that. And then you have other executives that are just like, well, no, I'm going to pass. Well, take that for what it is. So, and I think the third thing, and I'm going to go in a little bit more into the weeds here, a little bit deeper in a pitch. And I know from personal experience, because I've done this myself many, 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 many times, as I was learning it and doing it, is there's a terminology. It's called a beat trap. And it's when you're pitching and you're kind of just telling the script scene for scene. That's a mistake I see a lot in, but it's, it can eat up a lot of your pitch, a lot of your time. And, you only have a certain window to pitch that script in. So I think if you go too deep into it and you start to describe every scene and dialogue, character dialogue, things like that, that can really eat up your pitch time. And it can be a killer for the pitch because then, the request that an executive gives you, that's when he'll start reading your scenes. That's when he'll start reading your character and the dialogue and all that. So set a really great table with a pitch, but don't break down, oh, the silverware is here, the dish is here, the cups here. Here's the salt shaker, here's the candlestick, that's my metaphor. But those are really the three things I find the most of, yes.
And I can attest to the fact that the other thing that I would add to all of this is I think just like any other skill, how do you get good at something? How do you get good at playing a piano? You practice. How do you get good at singing? You practice. How do you get good at pitching? You practice. And I think that the mistake that I did was the very first and so far only pitch that I've had to a producer. I can't say I didn't know about pitch tank practice, but I hadn't attended. I just went in there pretty much blind. And of course the pitch was awful. The executive, he was very kind, but it was terrible. That was like probably the worst pitch in human history. But he sat through it. He was probably thinking this is going to be the longest 8 minutes of my life. But God bless him. He sat through it, and he gave me his notes. And he wasn't mean or sarcastic about it, even though I had ruined his last 8 minutes. But it was a lesson for me that you got to get more educated on this process, and that's
Did the
what
notes
kind
help?
of.
Did the notes help?
Yes, they did.
There you go.
So I've always, every note that I've ever gotten, particularly from you in Brooklyn, sometimes you sit back like, I can't believe I didn't see that. And you wonder, but it just goes to show you, even one of my, here's a question I'll ask real quickly. One of my favorite writers is Aaron Sorkin. I just love, his stuff. And even Aaron Sorkin, there's a writer, I think he's a producer, that he normally has read his scripts. And as good as an Aaron Sorkin is, he will still get notes from this person that he trusts. And sometimes it's like the most obvious things you miss. And it's invaluable to have that, to have someone else look at your work and to see it from fresh eyes. So I think that that's important. And I'll ask a real quick question, like, who's your favorite writer?
For television or just like book-wise, just in general?
Just in general.
Oh, goodness gracious. That's a tough one. I'm just gonna, because that's who I learned from this whole journey in the industry, Shonda Rhimes. I absolutely love just the way that the themes and the stories that she tells, but how entertaining they are at the same time. Because sometimes people write for theme, right? There's a theme, there's a message, clear message, but sometimes that message takes over like I still want to be entertained.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want those messagings with the entertainment. And that's what I feel makes a great project. It's not overly dominated by like, okay, here's the arc here. And you felt like as a writer, now I can't watch television or anything the same anymore. Like it's always a learning thing. I can't just enjoy. It's like, oh, what's this character arc going to be through this season? What's this? But sometimes with with all of Shonda Rhimes, what she's worked on, like I can feel that, but I still am so entertained with the dialogue. I'm so entertained with the pace of shows. So that's just kind of my inspiration. It's like Shonda Rhimes is like my inspiration when it comes to how good of a writer that I want to be, because I just love her projects.
The very first class I took on how to be a showrunner was her class. She has a master class.
Yeah.
And
too. That was the only thing I could afford at the time. When I was like, I couldn't afford mentors that I did now. I was just starting my business, and it was the master class. Like I purchased it for like my last $250 for the year, because it was like a year subscription. You got the whole year for the master class. So I was like $250. I'm learning everything. And Shonda Rhimes was the first one I went to learn how to even do a beat sheet. My beat sheet is directed towards how she did her beat sheet of Grey's Anatomy. So like I've learned so much from her.
Yes, those were the first two courses I took, Aaron Sorkin and Shonda Rhimes. Because she clearly, I mean, Grey's Anatomy is still on TV. So that says it all. John, who's your favorite writer?
Well, boy, this is a hard one because there's so many talented people doing it. My goodness. I guess if I had to go, I mean, I'll do television quickly. Obviously Shonda Rhimes, incredibly talented. I echo that sentiment. We were talking about Aaron Sorkin again, some terrific work he's done. David Kelly, terrific, knows his craft oh so well, so much success. We have Damon Lindelof is terrific as well. He's done some really great work as well. God, there's just so many. But I guess like my favorites go back. I mean, because I'll give a little bit of a history lesson here, but yeah, I mean, there's just so many great writers in general that I've loved throughout the years. I mean, there's Ray Bradbury, T.S. Eliot was fantastic. J.K. Rowling, her writing is so creative, and so detailed, and how she puts pen to paper. Then there's like I love Agatha Christie, Stephen King. I mean, there's just so many, and so many different venues and so many different writing spaces. So that was a tough one, Gregory.
Yeah, right. That's I was like, oh, okay, I know television. I'm gonna stick with television, because I was like, writing books wise, movies wise, like that's just too much. So I'm just gonna go television genre. That's it. Because there's a lot. There's a lot of good writers out there, like a lot of amazing in different genres, different categories. So yeah, you right, John. That was a tough one.
That's like saying, who's your favorite kid? It's like a trap question.
Well, I'm sneaky that way, so forgive me. I snuck that one in on you. The other thing that I want people to know that receiving criticism. Now, I was fortunate. Now, you mentioned John a little bit. So, if you want people to tell you that you're wonderful, you pitch to your family. Well, not my family.
It doesn't apply to everyone.
It didn't apply to me. My family is well, first of all, they already know that I'm crazy. That the jury came back on that a long time ago. But if I ask for feedback, particularly I have a cousin and my best friend, the highest form of praise that I can get from them is, well, this ain't crap. If they say, then I know it's a hit. I said, all right, good, it's ready to go.
It's a
Because
tough crowd right there.
that's about as nice as it's probably going to get. Is, well, this ain't crap. So I guess that's what kind of toughened me up. And you guys are much nicer. Although you give me more useful things that I can do with the script, but that's just an aside. So now what I wanted to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to show you that there's a payoff. And I want to talk with our guests a little bit about their projects, what's happening with them. And hopefully, again, this inspires you to keep going. So, John, let me start with you. Can you share any information about what's happening with the projects, some of the projects that you're working on right now?
I love talking about my own stuff. Yeah, one script I wrote, it's called Garden of Eden. It's like a comedy drama. That was sold and it was in pre-production. And matter of fact, just Saturday, yesterday, we went down to some location shoots. Myself, two directors, and two producers and a director to scout it out and take a look at it and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, that's coming along very nicely. And as
That's
soon as,
exciting.
yeah, and as soon as everything is finalized, we'll probably be announcing who's going to be in the film. So, it's going to be, it's a fantastic experience, that I wish for everyone. Um, and I just submitted another script of mine called Home to a producer who asked for it. Um, I like to write in the horror space. So, it's ironic that my first one that I ever sold was a comedy drama, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. But the journey is moving in the direction I want it to. And it's, to me, it's thrilling, but it can also be an example to other people to say that yes, there is an end. There is a goal that you can attain. If my experience and my story and stuff and how it unfolds helps other people, then fantastic. That would be wonderful. I would love that. Um, yeah. And obviously I write constantly. I have the passion. The bug bit me a long time ago. So I'm writing. I write 2 to 3 hours a day. And it's just because I want to. It's because that's where my creative juices are getting out. So that's something I have to do. Um, Otherwise, it like bothers me if I don't. It's just like I get like antsy. I'm like, well, why am I not writing? I want to write. I got all these ideas. I want to get them out. So it's something that I do because I love it. But yeah, I'm working on projects still. Collaborating with another writer on a project. I keep busy. And it's been so much fun to do it. It's been so, and it's been rewarding. It still is rewarding. It's still so gratifying to have that happen. And I will say one last thing to anybody who dreams and wants to get to this point where they see their work being sold and filmed and getting out into the universe. Whenever you hear the word no, you take those two letters, N-O, and you call them a new opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
There you go. And I hope that, and I'm sure everyone was paying attention now, and just think about the significance of what John has shared with us today. So, for those of you like myself that you might be older and you might say, well, it's too late for me to get into the game. John returned back to writing after a 27-year hiatus, and he is now a sold writer. I mean, and a produced, he's got a script that's being produced. That's not a small feat. That is big. So not only it's not a case of, well, teachers, can teach, but they can't do. they're doing the stuff that they're helping us, the writers, the other writers in the pitch tank, they're actually going out and accomplishing these things. So it's doable, folks. There's no excuse. I don't care. Well, I didn't start out in Hollywood. Well, I can't tell you how many writers didn't start out in Hollywood. That's not uncommon. You can do this, but you have to, approach this with some seriousness and some discipline. But I hope you see what's possible.
And it's never too late, because look at this, folks. This is gray hair. It's never too late.
Well, at least you still have hair. I'm going in the other direction. I've decided that I'd rather be bald than gray. So that's the direction that I'm going. But anyway, so Brooklynn, now you too have some exciting things going on. Can you tell us a little bit about the mentorship program that you're in?
Of course. And I also want to just add, John, you seeing the locations, time out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the reality, guys. That's the thing. I want to hit on the moments too, right? On this journey, celebrate each moment. I know this is a big moment. John's project sold a while ago, right? And even in that process of selling project a while ago, you can't really talk about it. And a lot of people would take that and like, oh, I won, and they wouldn't continue working. And that's something I want to keep highlighting, is that John sold this project mad long ago. And in the waiting period, right? It's always in each chapter, you're always going to have a waiting period before that next chapter. And in that waiting period, John wrote another project, who's looking at another producer. He's co-writing with somebody else. You have to always be working through that chapter, so that when that next chapter opens up, you're prepared for that chapter. And you only are prepared for that chapter if in the waiting period, you continue doing what you are doing that got you to that chapter, if that makes sense, right? You just never get to a chapter and stop because, oh, I sold it. John could have been like, I sold it. I'm just going to be on the back burner and wait until everything falls into place, right? But no, in that waiting period, John is continuously doing different projects and everything else. So that's something I just want to highlight too. And baby, you got to go see locations. Like, how freaking exciting. Like, I get excited for this crap. It's not crap, but I can't curse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to keep it PG. But like, I just get so excited for other, because right, you just feel like the feeling of what it took to get here. Like, shout and scream, and you can't yet because you can't really give all the details, and that's like the hard part of it. But I'm so excited for you, John. I'm so excited for you.
I'll be shouting when I can.
Right? That's what I'm saying. You can't, and that's what okay, so snowballing into the mentor program, like I knew like 3 months before I could say anything that I got in, but I couldn't say anything for like 3 months. So I kind of attest to that, of like, in that period of like, you can't say it, but like, you already are in the know of it. What are you doing, right? So in this mentor program, I got into the Black Boy, Black Girl Rights mentor program, and through a writing that I honestly, it's one of a piece that hits home for me. Like, all of my writings obviously come from a personal, not obvious, but they come from every script that I've wrote has come from a personal chapter in my life that I made, took fiction and added to it. So this one, I rewrote this bad boy, and I was hesitant, right? What are people going to think? What do people like, right? All those things, because it's a vulnerable space. And with a project that got into it, I probably rewrote it in different points of views, probably like 8 different points of views, because there's a lot of characters in this, it's like a Shameless kind of meets Dynasty kind of thing. So there's a lot of characters, and I didn't know whose point of view. So rewriting that multiple times to finally get it into the point of view of who I wanted it to be. And then from that draft, right? So there's like 7, 8 drafts of whose point of view. And finally, when I got into the point of view I wanted to, I rewrote that about 14 times into the way I wanted to write it. And then I edited that more. So guys, just the process of rewrites is very important because rewrites is what's going to take it to that next level, right? The idea is going to get out there, but it's in the rewrites, it's in the discipline of the rewrites that is going to get your piece to where it is. So that's just a side note. But yeah, in this we're only like a couple months in, And it's just now getting started. Like we've had multiple roundtables with different directors, different television writers, different everyone who's actually in the room, and managers, agents. We've had access to these people that now we can actually submit our work to people who've worked with Shonda Rhimes, like people who've worked with Lena Waithe, people who've worked, like we have access to these people that like we can ask ideas and everything else. So just the access of this program now that we have is incredible. And then this is the beginning, right? So now there's like final draft shoots. There's other things coming up that we get to be put on brand. We get to be put out there more. So other people start looking for us now. And at the end of this mentor program, we have general meetings with production companies, agents, managers. So all of this year is preparing, and through the roundtables of meeting people, we actually go through each of our scripts. Actually, my script is coming up next Saturday that we dissect as a group. And we have a roundtable that other people join us and they tell us their journey. They tell us the ins and outs, like real nitty gritty, like what actually happens in a writer's room, what actually happens, how to be a regular room writer, to a storyteller, or to a story editor, to the showrunner, to like, we have actual processes of people who've gone through that. So that's invaluable, just understanding that journey. And then our other Saturdays, we have 2 writers out of the group. There's 14 of us. So 2 writers, we dissect their scripts. Everyone gives notes, everyone gives feedback, which is like 4 to 5 hours that we just sit and break story and get. So that's invaluable too. So the whole goal of this program is to be prepared, right? And as this script is getting dissected, I'm working on another script with my mentor that I actually have a meeting on Thursday. Like, you know what I'm saying? I have another script that's pretty polished. So by the time the meetings come, guys, are you prepared for that opportunity? Right? In this waiting period, I got into the program. Yes, I could say the script is amazing. It got me into the program and just been one and done and been like, yes, this script is it. But in this process of, while this script is being dissected and getting better, by the end of this program, what else do you got? And I'm trying to make sure by the end of this program, I have 2 to 3 other polished scripts, that it's not just keeping secrets. I have A Man's World, I have Double Life, I have Christ-like, I have all of these other scripts that are ready to rock. And that is like this period of time, that in the waiting period, what I'm also doing. So by the general meetings, when I get to meet with managers, when I get to meet with production companies, when I get to meet with these people, I'm not only just talking to talk, because I know, you know yourself. I know I could sell myself. Like, I know when I'm in the room, I could be me and they're going to love me. But this is also, can you write? This is also, can you be in the room? So that's just what I'm working on right now, to making sure that I'm not a one-hit pony. I have a jack of all trades. By the time these meetings come, it put the fire under my booty cheeks. And put the fire under my butt to make sure that, I have all these other scripts, but like, let's get them better. Let's make sure, like, let's not just joke around that I have these scripts. Like, no, let's make them as good as Keeping Secrets. Like, let's get them to that level. And that's what I'm working on right now.
And I have to say one thing very quickly.
Sure.
I'm so proud of this lady. She's just the awesome sauce, as far as I'm concerned. This is someone who is she's gonna do wonderful things, and I can't wait to see them.
Well, I think you're both, going to do wonderful things. And I thank you for the privilege of talking to you today, because now, I can say that, before you became big and, very sought after in Hollywood, I had you on my show. But ladies and gentlemen, you will be hearing from our guests today. Again, for sure, we've had a great conversation. I hope that this has kind of peeled back maybe a little layer and just say, well, what does it take to really be successful? And you have an example today of people that are out there, they're going after their dreams, and they're making it happen. And you too can do the same. I hope you have enjoyed our podcast today. We've been talking with Brooklynn Fields and John Mezes. I am Gregory Q. Jenkins, and thank you for listening to us today. And I will say bye-bye for now until next time. Thank you.